All right, today we're going to be going over some basic flying machine elements and designs so that you can build your own flying machines in your own survival SMP. So what we're going to start out with is just a really basic two-way design or two-way engine. So this component is what drives the flying machine to go back and forth. And this is the kind that makes you go in two directions. So the really basic shape is going to be this right here. This. These two sticky pistons, and then you take some slime blocks and you attach observers facing away from the piston so that they point into them. Now, when I power this observer, like by placing a note block or something like that, you can see that it goes in this direction, and now you have to stop it. And then if I power this observer, it'll go in the other direction. Hooray! So this is a really basic two-way engine. Now, what if you had a two-way engine and it was just moving and you wanted to stop it? As you saw, I could place some obsidian to stop the flying machine, but there are other ways to stop a flying machine, and there are actually some onboard mechanisms you can have that I really prefer. So to have a stopping mechanism, it's really basic. It's just these three parts. You have a note block, an observer to detect it, and then you don't really need a sticky piston. You can just have a regular piston. Now, if this is attached to any flying machine that's moving in this direction, when you spam the mechanism, sometimes it only takes one hit, but you have to like hit it over and over. Then it'll stop the machine. So I'll show you on this flying machine. Let's build two stopping mechanisms, one for each direction. Always put your note blocks down first, and then an observer to detect when you press it. Same thing over here. Now, let's say I had the flying machine moving that way, so I'll trigger it and get it going. Now we can use this stopping mechanism if we spam this note block to stop it when it's moving in that direction. If it's moving in the other direction, you do the same thing on this side. You spam this. And now we have a really basic flying machine. It's got this two-way engine and a stopping mechanism on each side. So now let's talk about seating. People will give you all kinds of different BS methods for their seating, but I am here to tell you that there is only one good way to have a seat in a flying machine, especially if you're on a server, and that is with a minecart. So you'll have a rail, put the minecart in, break the rail, and then you need to have slime on all four sides of the minecart. This is the most reliable way to have seating in a flying machine. People will do cauldrons. That shit doesn't work. Like, you'll be flying for maybe 100 blocks and then it'll just kick you out. Cauldrons are bad. Honey blocks are also not so reliable and hard to get on my server. But you can use honey to kind of hold the player still. But this is the most reliable mechanism. So how would you put it on this kind of design? Well, I'd like to be able to hit all four of these note blocks, so I'll have it kind of elevated. We'll put him right here. Now, if you're flying here, you can reach all four of the mechanisms. Say we were flying this way. Now you can use this stopping mechanism, stop the machine. Great, so we have a little seat. So you can see how flying machines, there's not really one like perfect way to build them. You actually end up with these components and you just kind of piece them together every time you build a machine. So yeah, that's the one reliable method of seating. And so now you can see we have kind of a complete machine here. It can go this way, it can be stopped going that way, it can go this way, it can be stopped going that way. And if you have carpet mod, which not everybody does, also if you're in Bedrock, then you can add things to this machine. Like say I wanted a storage machine. I'm running a carpet server, so I can add chests here and, you know, haul items in that direction or in this direction. It's a useful concept. Now, what if I wanted to move side to side? There are a few ways to do it. The first thing you're going to need to do is immobilize your machine. So I do that by placing slime down near the engines in kind of a uniform way. I think I did it right. Yeah, you place slime around the engines, and then you can have incremental engines off to the side. So I'll show you how to build one of those. Say you had a slime block there, a sticky piston here. This is going to be our incremental engine, and this is how you build my favorite incremental design. You have that, and then you have an observer on the outside facing in. Now, if we were to take something like buttons, we can move this entire machine one block by or just block by block, like one block at a time. This is the incremental engine. You put a button on top, you waste the button, and it moves it one block to the side. So say we were moving back and forth, but now we actually want to move along a different file. You can take this incremental engine, move your flying machine 5 or 6 blocks to one side, and now you're on a whole different plane. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sister Milk, are there not 4-way flying machines, or does a 4-way flying machine work? The answer is yes, you can build something like that. And I'll show you what I've done on my SMP, but it has limitations. So here, one design in my little infantry fighting vehicle, I call it, you have 4 different incremental engines, and only one of them is active at any point. So that's one way to move in 4 directions. Another way is to have 2 different 2-way flying machines kind of hooked up. So ignore all the stopping mechanisms. There's a 2-way machine here, and then a 2-way machine perpendicular to that over here. And you only really use one of them at a time. This is a good design too. But this kind of relies on carpet mod, and the other one isn't particularly useful because it's super slow. So there are limitations to 4-way flying machines. You can find designs online, but they're not really very reliable. I wouldn't put any faith in the designs on the wiki or anything like that. So yeah, like as you can see, I have this kind of 4-way barge here. It can hold a couple of items, and it can have other things attached to the middle here. Yeah, and it also has these 4 stopping mechanisms, one on each side. So that's all I wanted to show you guys today. Catch you later.